Welcome to the We Speak Tangent podcast, where we speak to neurodivergent entrepreneurs.
Okay, so hello folks, welcome to this week's edition of We Speak Tangent. I'm Michael.
I'm James.
And I'm Kat.
And this is, as I said, We Speak Tangent. It is brought to you by the Neurodivergent Entrepreneurs Network in direct partnership with the South of Scotland Enterprise. So welcome along. Thank you for joining us. This week's guest is Mark Timmins. Mark, nice to see you. How are you doing?
See you,
Very
Mark.
well, thanks. Thanks very much for inviting me to come and talk in the glass box.
Absolutely fine.
It's always exciting to be in a glass box. I can pretend I'm a goldfish.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely
Round
correct.
and round we go.
So without doing the sort of Cilla Black thing, who are you? Where do you come from? What do you do?
Okay, so my name's Mark and I live in the Scottish borders. I grew up, born in Wales, grew up between Bristol and Cambridge, but came up to teach knitting and textiles at the Scottish College of Textiles, which is now Heriot Watt University, Scottish Borders campus, as opposed to the Dubai campus.
Or the Edinburgh one.
Or the Edinburgh one, or the Orkney campus as they are growing.
Of which I am an alum.
Excellent. So I came up to teach textiles, and I've taught sort of everything from yarn design to drawing, bit of art history, bit of creative interpretation of the world around you. And ended up teaching, running the fashion course. So as you can see from my jacket, I'm not backward at coming forward.
It's very cool.
You may have to explain the jacket. The shoes, if I can get a cutaway of the shoes, just for my own personal enjoyment. So
when Mark came in, I was like, I want to colour you in.
Yeah. Also, if you're listening and not
they'd
watching,
never met before. It was literally one of the first things he said. I want to colour you in.
We've moved past painting people like the French girls.
They were out with the Sharpies.
Yeah.
Tell me you're neurodivergent without telling me. I want to colour you in. Just stay still. Don't move. Yeah.
Or you can move, but it's slightly more awkward to...
Yeah.
We're out of the lines. No. So explain, because James will ask the fashion question, but I've beat him to it. Explain the amazing jumper, because I want one.
Yeah.
So
Not yours, just another one. Yeah. You can leave
I
the
can
jacket.
get mugged on the way out. So this is Keith Haring, graffiti artist from the 1970s. He started out in the New York subway. When they finished an advert, they covered it over with a black square.
Cool.
And he went out with white chalk and started drawing sort of people like this and the atomic dog. I can't find the atomic dog now. He was Andy Warhol's sort of contemporary, and lived hard and died young.
The best way. I don't know why I'm still here at 33. But anyway, that's a separate thing. So what interested you about textiles? What was the link there? Because we always say to people, if you can find something that you can do and are interested in, do that. So what was it about textiles that got you?
I think my family, as I grew up, my dad invented nylon.
Oh, hang on.
Wow, cool.
Just pick that. Hang on.
I remember the first time I made nylon at school. That's so much fun.
Yeah. So this was
a big deal.
1950s.
Yeah.
He was working in South Wales, which is why I was born in Wales, and he was part of the team that invented nylon.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I know. That's just quite amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Albeit 80 odd years later.
Yeah.
But you heard it here.
Somebody else heard it a long time ago, but we're hearing it here now.
And so my gran was a quilter, and she wrote books. I was first published when I was about the age of 8, and my gran and my granddad smoked. So I made this sort of cigarette packets had medals on them.
Oh yeah.
At that stage.
Yeah.
So I made this collage, and then I went through school, did art foundation, and textiles seemed to be the thing that made me excited. I've always been slightly left field. I did this.
No. Yeah.
I did this still life drawing of a packet of. So they set up this still life and a packet of cornflakes and a bowl, and I thought to myself, that's a bit boring. So,
Yes, I would have thought that.
Yeah. So I changed the colours, and my tutor was like, "Why did you do that?" And I said, "Well, it just looked a bit boring." So I've always been a bit left field.
Art can be boring. It can be.
You've heard it here first.
Yes, it is. Of course, art can be boring, but you know, I like hearing stuff like that because it just gives it that extra spin. It's like I'm always talking about the individuality, you know, and that's what I like to hear. So I want to ask a question because it's rattling about inside my wee noodle.
This is how it works.
As
usually.
it does, you know.
Yeah.
So this is a neurodivergent entrepreneur podcast.
Yep.
Where's the connection with yourself and neurodivergency?
Oh, goodness gracious me. So after I did Art Foundation, I almost got a job as the curator of the Peer Arts Centre in Stromness in Orkney, which is a lovely, beautiful place. And then I got a job teaching knitting in Plymouth. And then I got the job at the Harry Watt School of Textiles. So I've always worked with young people who are finding themselves. Doing art and design is very different to doing a lot of other subjects because it is very much about putting yourself in front of the world, and there is no right and wrong way, and a lot of that's why I think the Scottish system's better because you do 4 years as opposed to 3 years south in England, and that gives you a chance to find out more about yourself and what excites you about the world and about colour and about pattern and your place in the world. And a lot of the of creative minds think very left field or very right field or very down or very up, and that's where I suppose I came across neurodivergence without them recognising that they were neurodivergent or me recognising that they were, but I was just empathetic enough, I think, to understand where they were coming from and to be able to help them and not steer them, but sort of try and avoid the pitfalls, and say to them, to be encouraging and say, no, you've done that really well. And I think in this world there are too many people who say, oh, you're rubbish at that and you're rubbish at this and you're rubbish at that.
You know, I was getting excited when you said, you know, there's no right or wrong way, because, you know, I remember in, you know, third, fourth year learning that, because I did a 5-year, one of the undergraduate master's programs, and I remember it was in fourth year I was on a placement, and there was that statement was made, you know, there is no right way, you know, you need to go and work out how you're going to do it, because nobody knows at this point. And then,
but that's the exciting thing, isn't it? You know,
exactly.
we don't know where anything is going to lead. So I got off the bus today, and I thought to myself, I know exactly where I'm going, and ended up at Waverley Housing. So and then I thought to myself, no, I do have a piece of paper that tells me where it is. So yes, I wandered through Hawick to arrive in the glass box. And,
but no, I'm kind of wondering. So as you're speaking about, you know, empathetic and being on that journey with people who, you know, may or may not have discovered their neurodivergence as part of university. And I'm aware that often was part of people's university journey, because a lot of people come into first year and then suddenly have those kind of diagnostics available, and that support available. Because when I went through university, that was when it was just kind of starting to be something that was available, and there were a lot of people that I went through uni with who discovered their neurodivergence as part of a student support program. So I was wondering how that kind of altered how you worked, and if it did.
I work really closely with the student support services, and it's the Galashiels campus is very small, so you get to know everybody. And I got on really well with the Sheila Cruikshank was the student support services person, and she was very empathetic and knew a lot. And so, you it's really interesting when you're teaching textiles. You don't teach you have a group, but you don't teach in a group. So you have to engage on a one-to-one. So there isn't the PowerPoint and the sea of faces and
Who wants to now study textiles? It's just an advert for me to study.
and everybody has their own studio space.
Mm.
And
awesome.
so that their world is there, and so you're invited in to talk to them in their space. And there are general things that you can say to a group of people, but everybody's response is going to be individual. And I think you have to understand that when you're teaching art and design, because otherwise, we wouldn't have 4 colours of microphones in here. Everybody wouldn't be wearing different clothes. People have to be allowed to be themselves, I think. And that's also with what people wear and how they talk and what they do. And
I can see why textile would be a great programme for you to work for. And instantly, I'm an artist that has found himself in the wild of everything. And if there's a wee room there, I was watching it in my head. There's a wee room, and that's a little, by the way, for our over the borders people. there's
Subtitles will be available.
There's a wee room, and can in there, but had that been available when I was at school, that's something I absolutely
100%.
would have went for. So to hear that that's available in places, that blows my mind. That individual to be able to go in and speak to people as a human being, that's what, and I'm not going to tarnish any other educational places, but that's fantastic, because as a neurodivergent myself, I would grow at an exponential rate had that opportunity been given, and I know that I'm making that not calculated.
Oh, I totally
I'm making that
agree.
for the heart and saying that's the stuff that dreams are made. People can actually explode and grow and physically explode, but
because
it's
I
exciting.
really noticed the difference between the people who had programs that were supportive and the people who didn't. Because most of my friends were neurodivergent, not unsurprisingly, and some people stayed and some people left because that support wasn't there.
And we learn different. I mean, if anything's taught us over the last 40 years, maybe longer, we learn different, and it's that's something that I think everybody's just starting to get to grips with, the sitting in the classroom with 30, 40, 50 even.
I don't think that works for anybody.
Yeah.
As someone who's been in teaching.
But we're learning over the last 40 years, but we're also learning over the podcast that we've done. You can actually see the difference between people who've had the support and people who haven't and made their own way, compared to those who have fought for it. And so the idea that you can be in a world, in a society, on a course where it's tailored to your own individual needs and your own individual space is, that alone could really, and that's before we get to the sort of probably the debate at the end of the podcast where we go, has clothing changed, has style gone? but it's that if you can find I sound like I'm sort of Sermon on the Mount, but I'm going to find something you can do and do it. It may be a case of the universe gives it to you, or it's something that you're interested in. But it's the idea that whatever you're interested in, it can work. And all it takes is, as Kat says, it's a good teacher who is able to go, you need to do this, and then.
It's sort of opening doors, and saying to people to look beyond the confines of where they are. I think,
and being able to come alongside people like that is a skill.
So Mark, I've got another burning question. Can you, this is like there is people, there's followers, there's listeners, can you explain to me? Obviously, I've got a vision in my head. You don't need to get into too much detail, but what does a day look like in the world of Mark, guiding people from start to finish into that wee room, and then What do you discuss with them? What do they go through? What do they get for the world of
And then the
Mark?
therapy afterwards.
Therapy for me, or therapy for the young people? I think
I
it's
just think
therapy
that
for the young people. I
As
think.
somebody who's a neurodivergent listening,
Fair question.
you know, like ADHD is different, autism's different, everybody else has got that different thing. So it's interesting for us to hear as well as the listeners.
Okay, so I think you've got to be empathetic. You've got to know when you've given enough, because you could just spin it out, and so many things go on in my
It's
head.
that balance between empowering.
Yes,
Yeah.
empowering is a
Exactly.
really good word, and that's what you're trying to do, because you can't impose your will on somebody else, because they'll just hate it. It's like going to the job centre, and the job centre says to you, right, we've got 10 minutes, and I'm going to tell you what you're going to do.
You've
for the
lost me
next 2
straight away.
weeks.
You've put a time barrier on me.
Yeah.
You put 10
Exactly.
minutes on me, you've lost
Yes.
it.
But also,
Which is exactly
you're
what
being
they do,
told.
incidentally.
You're being told what to do. Whereas
Yeah.
my last job, where I set up a charity called Works Plus, which helps unemployed young people become employed young people,
Brilliant.
is about giving the young people confidence and time, and saying to them, I once, previous to setting up Works Plus, I worked for a charity called Tomorrow's People, and Tomorrow's People did, they helped unemployed young people become employed young people, and I went to their annual dinner, and I was in front of probably about 200 business bods in their suits, and they were out for an evening meal, and they wanted some staff to come along and talk about what they did. And I said, what you've got to do is to think about the young people, and I'm going to say a word that maybe you're not expecting to hear tonight. And there they were in their business suits and their sparkly dresses, and that was the men. So
Doesn't surprise me at all. Next.
and I said, the word I'm going to say is love. And
Of course.
Hang on, you said love in a business context.
Absolutely.
Take my money.
How long was it before you were escorted out of the building? Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, I wasn't, and that was the real surprise.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we have to make people step back and look at the world in a different way and think, how can we support people?
Yeah.
How can we make lives better, rather than going around saying, "Oh, you're woke, you're this, you're
Labels.
that." Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to double back because my mind's still working. what you're like me, what I meant was like, so picture this, wee James Alexander Gaffney turns up for his first day, he's got his wee school bag on.
Yeah.
I'm there, I'm waiting on you coming out. What can I expect to see when I go in there? Because this is interesting me, because I work in that kind of sector as well.
Okay.
But what can a viewer see if they turn up to see you for a textile on the first day? Because the first day is important.
Yeah.
Because
What can a viewer see? Yeah, okay.
the reason why I'm saying that is because it obviously works, but for me, so I'm sitting in the house, I'm agitated, I'm fidgety, my head's all over the place. I've got to get in my car. Who are going to see? What people are going to meet? Blather, what they're going to say to me? What can I expect when I get to see you in my wee bag?
Okay, so they'll come in, and I'll say hello, and then there'll be everybody who's not sitting in the front row, because nobody ever sits in the front row,
sits in the front
and that's a really dangerous thing, to sit at the back, because those are the people that they talk to.
100%. Yeah.
Noted.
And I think that because I don't know them, what I think I would get them to do is to draw themselves. I think drawing is a very underrated sort of
That'll be a very
skill.
accurate assessment of how they feel about themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they won't have mirrors, and but they don't have to focus on anybody else. They have to focus on themselves, and then I think that I would take those drawings and I'd put them up on the wall, and they would be there for the first week, and then I might do that again and see whether they've changed. In oh, sorry, that's my word. It's telling me that
Strike one.
Bells. It's telling me my move ring's finished. It's too much arm movement.
Mine too, and I haven't moved a thing.
And I think that that would be where I would start. And a lot of people in a new situation are not going to be confident. And that is really, really hard. And you have to set some barriers, but you also have to make sure that everybody feels comfortable.
Yeah, that's a really clever way to invite people to centre themselves.
Yeah, it's like a reverse mirror. I like that.
Yeah,
I knew you'd have a good answer. You've got a calming effect, the way you speak, the way you come across. And I didn't know what you were going to go, but that's when I ask these questions, a lot of people are like, whereas when you've got the answer straight away and it's genuine, that's what neurodivergents feel. We feel the empathy, the drawing, and and then to see your work on the wall. Some artists never get to see their work on the wall in a lifetime.
Yes.
In a lifetime. So you've just gave them.
Too right. And I think that they need to own that space. But they also need to know that there are other people within that environment, and you can't just go around flicking things.
I'll maybe only do that once or twice, in the front row. But no, it's the word is valued. It's like you just gave value to people, human beings that don't know you. That's a nice quality. No everybody has that, that's what I like hearing and seeing.
That's the art of a good teacher.
And I think I'm kind of encouraged to hear that space was given for you to have that time to provide that, because I think a lot of people are put in a position where they don't have the time and they don't have the equipment to deliver that, and that is damaging for everybody because not being able to deliver is heartbreaking.
I would go back to the job centre, and they don't have the time. That to be empathetic, and they have targets, and it's like, you will do this and you will do that, and never works.
But I also imagine it's not just a job. When you're giving away freely what you've got to other, it's 100%. Not a job, and it's like, and I Josh there and said, but if you put a time on that and you have a clock in that room, I'm not going to be engaging with you. I'm ready to leave. 10 minutes, I'm out.
That's why when I was teaching, I had one of those little watches that I had on my lanyard. So there was no clock, so I knew what time it was, but they didn't.
Nobody else did. It's a great concept, because time is something that we just seem to put in a box.
Yeah, I mean, it is really interesting, because I about a year ago started dialysis, and so I have 3 times a week, 4 hours where I can just think, and it has been revolutionary in my life. To be able to just sit there and think, and so that's where I've ended up with New Start, which we'll get to.
Part 2. 100%. It's all planning.
My red telephone box. I've taken over the red telephone box in Galashiels outside of the library, and I've always enjoyed that intervention into public space.
Comes back to the graffiti.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. And that's probably why I quite like that. And so it is important. Time is really important. And phones and things,
their value.
They have value. Yeah, they do. And I quite like my phone. And that's probably a terrible thing to say. But I like it for the fact that it's got a camera on it, and I can record things there that I can then put on Instagram.
There's an immediacy.
But then I can go back and change them and sort of subvert them. I quite like subverting things.
That seems like a good point to end part 1 and part 2. Hopefully we won't be subverting in part 2. But
it may be part 3.
Or indeed part 4.
We'll just switch it up.
So it sounds like what we're going to do is we're going to change the textile to make it a better picture. And please join us in part 2, where we continue to interview Mark Timmins about his amazing life and why he's here.
Thanks very much.
Okay, folks, welcome back to We Speak Tangent. This is part 2, and we are still here with Mark Timmins. So, we are moving out of textiles now. Sorry, I don't know whether to apologise or not.
No, don't apologise.
No. We're moving out to what you do right now, which is the reason that the team first came into contact with you. So, we're going from having your own space and textiles and teaching to a cafe in Galashiels.
Super. Yeah.
So could you please tell us about what it is that you do? New Start.
New Start. Yes. So New Start is something that I've been thinking about for 10 years, something like that. So what it is a safe space to learn how to engage with people. And how to sell and how to promote and how to we were having a discussion about the difference between electronic cash and real cash. So this is supposed to be a space where young businesses come along and they have a table in Café Recharge, which is a surplus food cafe in Galashiels. Very nice environment, and so they set up a table and they can promote their business. So our first one was Mackay Creations. You can find them on Facebook. Absolutely brilliant.
On the show in a few weeks' time.
Excellent.
Yes.
Mini interviews also available.
Absolutely.
So what happens is that the business comes along, sets up, and the cafe customers come in, and it's not like a craft fair and it's not like a market. It's supposed to be a safe environment.
Because is it set in their creating group space every time?
No.
Okay.
The first one we did happened to be the first Saturday of the month,
Gotcha.
which is their crafting. And so Mackay Creations fitted them beautifully in there, and the audience was really receptive.
I mean, I know you've already said it, but I'm just figuring out what's the. Because I was young once, so I don't remember having a business idea and going, I know what I'll do. I'll try and go and actually publicise and do. So the safe space is, if people get, I don't know, stuck, they say, what do we do? I mean, what is the thought process and the need behind New Start? Even though you've said it, I just want to make it very clear.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's a really good question because...
Thank you. I'm allowed to want to share. Yeah.
It is very hard because a lot of... what I found is that a lot of young businesses start on the internet. Okay, so they've got this idea and they make this product or they've got this service. And it exists on the internet, and the internet is fine, but it's like you're shouting into an empty chamber because you've got to learn. The internet can be a very empty space, but it can also be a very busy space, and yet you have to learn how to talk in that space to sort of the people who are over there and the people who are here. And one of the things about talking to people and engaging with them and showing them and saying, this is how I did this, and it's very difficult to tell that story when you are digital. So you can do it through videos, but it all becomes a bit behind a glass screen.
Removed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is one step removed. And so the point of New Start is that it gives you that opportunity to come out from behind that glass screen and show people and be proud and be confident, because you're never tested about your confidence when it's
100%.
Online.
Yeah.
And so, but the space that you transition from just being behind the screen and digital and selling in a real world environment is something that it's very hard to find where that space is, and how do I become confident in talking to people? How do I become confident in saying, this is the best thing since sliced bread. This is this will fulfill that niche, that need, that
Somebody needs this in their life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting. At the moment, Currys are saying they've got this advert on television, which is sort of, you don't need to swipe. And there's this picture of this video of this woman with kettles. And there's someone behind her and she's just going like this.
Yeah.
And the shop assistant goes, you don't need to swipe, you know. So
It's a very good point, because she doesn't actually end up buying the kettle. She ends up getting confused and leaving, and then ordering it online.
Yes,
Which isn't a slant on
no,
anything, but it is the way the world is going.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But if you're making beautiful things, or you know, things that are personal and you know, thought about and considered, as opposed to just fulfilling a need, then you have to make that. You have to tell your audience why it is handmade, or it is, you know, it uses technology in an interesting way, or the service that you provide is different to what you're going to get from somebody who doesn't have that personal investment in it. So the point is that it's in two parts, is New Start. So the first time they come along and they set up, and people are there, but it's not too intimidating, because they're coming in for a cup of coffee, and it's warm, and it's a safe place, and there's nice music playing, and which you don't get in the market, and you don't get in the craft fair, because you're competing against other people, so you're not competing.
Indeed,
and it's busy
you are.
and it's expensive.
That's what I love about markets, is that you're competing, but some people don't.
Yeah, and that's very hard as well, because you know, you get really intimidated, and if you're not very confident, and a lot of young people aren't very confident,
It's
you're
very easy
good.
to lose your flow as well, because you'll be in the middle of some really deep chat with somebody who's really connecting, and then someone else will be like, I just want to buy this badge right now.
Yeah. And so it goes back to time. You know, in the cafe, people are there to spend a bit of time, to have a coffee or have a conversation, or do some craft or whatever. So anyway, so the first session, they set up and they talk to people, and they get feedback, and people feel the things and understand where the ideas are coming from, and then the company goes away, and they come back a second time to put into practice the things that they've learned. But also, New Start also continues that conversation with them, and encourages them to be confident, and to be more out there, and show that the world is not totally a scary place, even though the purple blimp, the orange blimp, has been elected in America. And
as long as they don't go to America, it's fine.
Yeah.
As long as they stay to Scotland.
They're
fine.
They're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So the second part is as valuable as the first part, because they are then able to put into practice what they've learned, what they've thought, the feedback that they've had from customers, people sort of touching things, what sells and what doesn't. They can adjust their website, they can tell their story in a different way, and then that hopefully then gives them the confidence to move on to maybe a more competitive space. Maybe,
You just
which
reminded
might
me of
market
the statistic about, you know, you remember 85% of what you teach.
Ah,
And I was
right.
thinking about what you're saying about people telling their stories to people. And there's something about repeatedly being open about yourself and connecting with lots of different people about the same thing that teaches you so much more about who you really are and where you're going.
Yeah, and if you think about sort of selling online, people might look at the picture, but they can't feel what it is. And you know, that you can't be there and help the person through the buying process, the customer through the buying
Genius,
process.
because like I'm sitting thinking, like a lot of my stuff is like for our company is me, and people buy this. I'm trying to tell people buy this because it is me.
Yeah.
But if I was to come along and it would me, if I was to go back, then that would be ingenious, because one, you're going to take away. I'm all about growth. That's what I heard there in both instances.
100%.
And tell me if I'm wrong. Like the growth in that would be the product has been seen. You've seen somebody with that product, and you can't. You can't give that unless you've seen it to give to the client if they're buying it.
Absolutely. It's like if you're a fashion designer, the first time that you see your garment in store, and then you see it out in the street and somebody's wearing it, it's just like mind-blowingly exciting. And I think cool. I'm trying to engender that confidence and excitement in their product. That's and being able to tell people why they should buy this rather than just you can buy this.
I mean, it's so a supplementary question before my actual question. So how long is the gap between the first thing and the second thing?
We haven't had the second one yet,
so
right, okay. It'll be sort of a month, maybe 2 months.
Okay.
It's not meant to be long, forever, but it's meant to be.
It's also meant to be long enough.
Yeah. So Mac Creations are going back, and they were our first iteration of New Start, and they're going back and thinking about their ranges and about how do they define their ranges, and I was saying to them, it's not just a seasonal range, because we were talking about seasonal ranges, so spring, summer, autumn, winter. But I said it also might be about mood ranges or time-based ranges, so that you're thinking more out of the box than just conventionally thinking to yourself, oh well, it's coming up to Christmas now. I'll need to do some Christmas things. Your market may not be the market that you're trying to sell to may not be there.
May not be the thing. Yeah. It's very good from a neurodivergence point of view, because it starts out a smaller scale.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, just anecdotally, Mary Portas tried to do it with charity shops and bigger businesses. So the idea has been done before, but what makes this different for me is the effect that it would have on people who, as you say, I mean, who are shielded from literal public, who just want to create a product and sell it and post it, and that's fine. The challenge is, and it's something that we've discussed on a podcast with an exterior cleaner. It's being taught literally, or doing it in a safe way where you're taught to actually, and he could do it marvelously. But for some people, like that is the lesson of actually being in a room, and it's controlled pressure.
Yeah, because there's so many levels. There's actually the skill of conversing with people and selling, but then there's also the confidence to put yourself with the product and say, actually, I made this and it is good. And that is a big emotional step for a lot of people.
Gosh, it is really big. And, when you're starting a business, it is, I say easy, putting things on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, but you've no idea who your audience really is. And you have to grow into it, and you have to start to understand where is your audience and what do they want, and am I doing what that audience wants, or am I doing something that the audience that I don't want, which is a really bizarre thing. But there are some audiences that are relevant to you, and some audiences that aren't.
So so the actual question is, can you do this? I say can your organisation do this for any business? Is it a sense, or do you have a criteria where people, how do people get in touch to say, I want to do this? And then we'll then promote what we do as well. How do people? We are in this glass box together. So
it's a safe space.
Yeah. So how do people? So if somebody is sitting at home going, I've got this thing.
That would be helpful.
And I want to do it in a safe way around people that won't, as you say, tell. Because if you go back to part one, they won't tell me it's terrible. I'm terrible. The whole thing's a waste of time. I want to do this in a safe space. How do people get in contact with you to actually make that happen?
They can email us. The email will be on the
show notes.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
But it's new.start.entrepreneur@gmail.com, and it'll come through to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's Mark. Hi. I am not there to tell you your business is good, bad, or indifferent. But what I am there for is to, and that's why we have 2 bits of New Start. And you know, I am there to help you take that leap of faith. And also I'm there to signpost. So
Did you also have links with the SOSI business coaches?
that's right. Yes. But also other people as well. You know, I've been working with young people for the whole of my career, and I think the added value is that it's not just business, but it's also about confidence and about about how do you make your business better so that it works for you. Because if you're trying to make your business all things to all people, it'll never succeed. And you know, that's the trouble with a lot of
trying to make it, because like I've had that problem when you're saying that, you know, it's I get it, I'm not painting these for me.
Yes.
That's a stress or struggle. I'm not making these trainers for me. And it's like, hold on, this is mine. No, and that was a very hard thing. If I had a you back 4 years ago,
You still can. Like, it's still a thing.
I snapped his phone number up, and as soon as I met him, while I'm colouring you in, can I get your number?
Don't dismiss the fact if I had somebody like you still probably get.
It's but it is, you know, it's a struggle because you don't know your own worth. And Mike will help me.
Absolutely. And I think also as a young business, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you need that critical view from outside who can just see things that maybe you can't see because you're so sort of like,
say, even that support around asking yourself that question of what isn't working is so valuable. Because that holds so many people back, because actually having that thought process of maybe something I'm doing is wrong is really hard, and like having someone to lead you through that's so valuable.
I think as well we often get confused with this is mine and it's never been done before. You need to humble yourself. Humble yourself. I've been humbled many occasions.
This podcast is turning rapidly. But it's not original. It's been done before. Like, you're in the queue at the post office. Like, make a difference.
But it is true. It's that whole like there's some part of your business there that, and I imagine that's what you do, is to show in the own light of,
in a nice constructive way.
Somebody else has done this. No, but you know, there is that part where it has been done.
But also you may be able to do it much better than anybody else has done it. And that's not to say you don't have to be original all the time. You just have to do things differently and better that are relevant to how you do things.
And that's nice to hear as well.
Because at the core of it, everything is about your connection with somebody else.
Yeah. And what I'm hoping is that once we've grown the number of new businesses that have come through New Start, that we're going to establish this community where there is going to be some mentoring, peer mentoring, and I think that's going to be that's going to be really important to everybody, because if you can tell somebody how you've been through this process and you learn a lot quicker and a lot faster. But also, sometimes you don't need me to tell you, you know, that, because that may be too intimidating. You know, I'm not a young person anymore, but I am in here. Business is hard, but you've got to make sure that you are making the best of your abilities. You know, how do you build your audience? Because you don't know who's looked at your website, who's looked at your products and just walked away. But if they're in the cafe space,
you do see them.
You see people handling it and you think, is this the time for me to intervene and say, I'd like to tell you, not to sell it, because we all know that selling doesn't work. Telling the story about the product and being empathetic to the needs and the wants and the desires of the consumer is
I
is
think there's
what
a fine
selling is
line.
about.
I mean, I've been in shops where it's like just please just give me the garment, like
Yes.
just
Uh-huh.
please, we've all been there.
we have, yeah.
But that's because people haven't had, as you said, that I think the actual gold nugget there is having a decent mentor,
Yeah.
because there isn't, and that is you. I mean, that there isn't a. I think you're very capable of telling people what it isn't, but you do it in such a nice sort of way that people. It's that thing of going into a room, being really frustrated, and coming out and forgetting why you went in, because like you've already given them that high bar of try this differently or do this. I
Think outside the glass box.
very much. Well, we've been trying. We've only just worked the aircon at this one. But it is that. I mean, some people prefer the apprentice/lens model, which is a lot of business people going, how much does it cost? What would it be? Some people need to get to that point, and for those people, it is that. It is the new start. It is actually you have this thing, and you need to actually dip your toe in before diving headfirst and becoming Tom Daly.
Yes.
And finding
It's
that.
a fantastic
knitter.
opportunity.
I know.
Just
yeah.
gonna say.
And what about the name, New Start? Obviously, because that resonates.
Well,
with
old
me.
end would be a bit of a dead blow.
Just New Start. Everybody's been a New Start at one point in their life.
Yeah, and I was absolutely amazed that I put up the Facebook page, and I was able to have new.start as
No one's
no one had started it.
Not two dots.
No, just
Question mark.
New Start, and New Start Entrepreneur was available on Gmail. So I was
fantastic.
Nice.
like, wow. So I'm going through this journey as well, but I set up the charity Works Plus 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago. So I have been through that whole process of trying to engage with the audience, and the charity happened to be about helping unemployed young people become employed young people, but that's all. That's the shortened version, but really it's about helping a young person to become confident in themselves.
Yeah, it's helping the young person become a person.
Yes, yeah. And the trouble is when you're young, you don't know what you don't know, and sometimes that's a real advantage because you just think, I'll just go and do that. And whereas everybody else is like, oh my God, why are you doing that? So you have that real flush of enthusiasm, and but sometimes you need to step back. And New Start
I love
is
that
about
is the philosophy. And like as a meditation teacher, I'm thinking New Start. I'm thinking about beginner's mind and taking that step back and be like, if I looked at this just as the facts and not thinking about what I think I know about it or what I do know about it, and then like you said, that step back gives you that new vision.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And there is nothing better than having people talk to you about your business and being in a space where they have enough time.
If it leads to a
previous
sell, there's nothing
conversation.
better.
Yeah.
If it leads to an actual yes.
And we also have our own
100%.
version, which the amazing cat takes.
Yeah, so people can also engage with the peer support coaching and the virtual office. So the peer support coaching is a safe space for people to come and discuss. It might be, I'm thinking of employing an accountant who's done that. It might be coming in and saying, I really struggle with upping my price point because I don't feel worthy of that.
Yes.
So it can be a deep discussion or it can be quite a short discussion. And it just depends what people need and what people bring. But it's about connecting neurodivergent entrepreneurs together. And then also the virtual office is a body doubling space, which has one...
Body doubling space.
100%. So
Thank you. I had that thought
It's not a
process.
clone machine.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
I'm not a physicist. It doesn't clone. Just a chemist.
Don't want to see another me. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So yeah, it has a silent office space, which is so people can work together, and then it also has a water cooler or breakout room space where people can meet up and have a social connection, which is less structured than the coaching.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And I don't see new starters. I see new starters as one of the feeders for things like that. because
100%, I agree. Yeah.
So do I. Yes.
new businesses
Yes.
need, if they're going to succeed, that they need to find out what makes them them, as opposed to what makes them like somebody else.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you have to be yourself in your business,
Yeah.
but you do need support, and you do need the specialists who can help you in that, and that might be your peers, it might be someone like me, it might be someone like you. But if we, it's about developing your own network and your own way through, but always remembering that it's your business.
Yeah.
It's about having a support system
Yeah.
who celebrates you for you.
And business typically thinks, right, okay, at the top is the MD, and then everything else is subservient to it. But your business has to be like this. So you're at the bottom, supporting everything that happens.
Absolutely correct.
And you're just inverting that triangle. And I think you sometimes need to go. You need to go for a walk on a beach.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right.
For some people, that is their business.
James and I talk about that a lot.
That's where it's at.
Yeah.
And it's also, you have to look for the similarities as well as the differences.
Yes.
That's
Can you do it
important.
better?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you say, it's easier to see where you're different if you are among your tribe than if you're alone, because if you're alone, it just feels very isolated.
Oh, yes.
But having that bouncing off other people who have similar ideas, or maybe a completely different idea, which they're implementing in a similar way, is so valuable.
Yeah, it really is.
I think that's a good point to end part 2, because we haven't ended on a cliffhanger or a question to go into part 3. We need to come up with a tangent in part 3. This is very straight down the line at the moment.
I think nylon was a slight tangent.
It could be many things. So please
Very
join
long
us
and
in.
stretchy.
Yes, yeah. Some people are thinking of candy floss rather than nylon, but that's okay.
Here's what it looks like. Yeah.
We'll see you in part 3. Hello folks, welcome to part 3. We are still here with Mark Timmins. We've had coffee breaks in between, by the way. We haven't been, here forever. We have been outside and discussed many things. So I guess I'll ask the question first, because if I don't, I will forget it. So your business, if you like, is teaching people how to run business. If this was, well, it sort of is. You can word salad it around however you feel. But,
to make business better.
Yes, and then society, but we'll get to that. How, if you were one of those young people, what business would you bring to market? To ask you to have see James's little hamster man.
Yeah.
Why didn't I come up with
asked
that?
that?
There you go.
You can tell we don't rehearse this
I
stuff.
know. Yeah.
Okay, so I brought along.
Or maybe we do. I don't know.
He's actually. Oh, this is
Somebody
brilliant.
has. Yeah.
So this is called Old Bags,
Yeah.
and it's basically you get all of these bags.
Yes.
Okay, love it.
and so I dyed them with tea.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And drew the faces on.
Is that why you drink weak tea? is that
So
the
you
whole
can use
thing?
the rest of
Yes,
the tea bags
to-
to dry the bags. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
So it's an old
entrepreneurial.
bag
Yes.
dyed with an old tea bag. So
Yes,
it's
yeah.
old bag squared. I love
yes,
it.
yeah. So we've all got this mountain of bags in our.
Oh, yeah.
So we can all do this because they've all got a blank side.
Yeah.
They've all got
Good
a blank
point, yeah.
side. So this one says I love Scotland. And it's Scotsman.
The smell of tea.
No.
How did I know James was going to do that?
That's a product, Jane.
It's
I'm
like
very
1 second behind me.
I suddenly thought to myself, "Oh, I've got this pile of bags that's been generated, and here we are being green and not using plastic and recycling and all of those things." So I thought, I could do something with that space. So that's where.
What you need is a mentor.
Yeah, I think I probably do. So I do that, and
So we've started with graffiti and circled back.
circled right back, yes, taking it back into the street, and
invading the space of the bag. Yes. Because it's true, they have become such a commercial thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Put the price up and everybody's like, oh, bags, I'll bring one.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good thing.
I'm only 33. I haven't invested in this whole thing yet. I've got the bags of life in the car. I don't know.
Bag for life. When I pass away, I'll leave them here. Right? I don't know who's going to get them, but somebody's getting them.
It's in your will.
Right?
I know, yeah.
Bag for life, Michael.
I think we can afford 50p a bag in my budget. I think that's okay.
Sometimes they're 30, Michael,
I know.
and sometimes they're a pound.
They're more now,
You're missing out here.
Yeah.
I've got some collection.
Absolutely.
And now so that's your business idea, and now I'm going to say one thing, and then it's going to tangent off and end beautifully. So you are an advocate for making noticeable small changes to make society better, and you've mentioned the phone box. Now, for those people under, I don't know, 40, before, in the olden days, before you...
I'll take this.
Yes.
When I was at primary school, we had a whole afternoon, which was us walking down the village and learning how to use the phone box.
Wow.
That's just
In
a lack
case of
teaching.
emergency.
Well, I'm going to come in, and there was a number you used to be able to press for all you oldies out there, and it was 14713, and you hang it up and run away, and then you watch people because it would just ring.
And then you reverse the charge. Yeah.
That's
So-
very expensive to call 147.
Not for me.
So
it was free. Sorry, BT.
So now that society has moved on as a concept, the phone boxes have stayed, and they're becoming little community
Libraries.
huts for
Yes.
people.
Yes.
So, and I'm probably going to zone out a little bit. So, what is your phone box idea?
So
It is marvelous, but I'm just like, okay.
yeah, okay. So my red phone box idea was I did in Portobello. There is a red phone box called Art Walk Porty. Anybody who's not seen it, go and have a look at it. So I had an exhibition in there. I'd been to Osaka and taken pictures, movies of reflections of the river that runs through Osaka, and so I put up these photographs on transparent paper, and the light inside had changed, so it turned into Osaka in the middle.
You've
of
actually
the
made
so
it interesting.
cool.
I'm not even zoning out. This is fabulous, right? Okay, yeah.
And the red telephone box in the middle of Galashiels is next to the library, and BT put out a call saying we don't want our red phone boxes anymore because we don't want to define where people are talking in public, and because you had to go into the call box and
Because that fits with their whole
oh,
ethos,
absolutely,
yeah,
too
of
controlling.
being connected everywhere all the time.
yes.
Yeah.
So they said that as if you're a charity, you could take it over. So it was like if you're a charity, you could buy one of the Clockwork Orange Glasgow tube trains for £1,000.
That's right. I remember
So
seeing that.
so this was £1, and you could take it over. So I persuaded my my colleagues in Works Plus to take it over, and I've taken it over because I've stopped working for Works Plus. I have
The phone box is having a sabbatical with you.
Yeah, so
The retirement present is your idea.
yeah.
Give me that bit. Yes. Yeah.
I don't want to watch, I want a phone box.
And so this red phone box is in the middle of the community, and so I have been able to lock it. So you may think that they're all cast iron, but they're not. The doors are made of wood. So it's got a lock on it. So currently it's near the War Memorial in Galashiels. So currently it's got poppies in the window. My next intervention is going to be for Christmas. So I have this rainbow Christmas sparkly tree.
Nice.
And it's going to have white snowflakes
Oh, I'm making my day right
that
now.
are going to suspend inside it. So it's like
mean,
this glass box, but smaller.
No, but just for the viewers at home, we've already had like a genuine discussion, and everybody apart from me has actually went in and said, you need this, you need that, you need the other. So this is collaborative working, and it's fun. It might be the only reason I drive past a
100%.
phone box is to get out and go, oh, they did that. Okay.
Yeah.
I've had an idea.
Yeah.
And I'm going to steal this because Michael, this is something that Michael would say.
That's okay.
So can we, and this is a t-shirt. This will be a
Oh, it's a
t-shirt opportunity.
It's a
Soon
t-shirt.
have a
Can we get
t-shirt than the phone.
Can we get a sticker on the front that says, "No Superman's changing, please"?
Ah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Also, maybe we should
Love
hang
it.
the Christmas
Draw
tree
it.
upside down.
Draw it.
Oh, I haven't thought
So that
about
people
that yet.
can still go in and see.
Actually, that is something else.
Maybe like
Well
Carlisle
done.
Cathedral, so you can lie down and look up at the tree.
Oh,
How
yeah.
big's the phone box?
Oh, enough for two
You
people.
are old enough to remember the size of a
There's
phone
probably a Guinness World
Phone
Record.
boxes are bigger.
It's like the Mini, you know, how many people can you get inside a Mini? There's bound to be
9
one.
and a large dog is the record of my
There you go.
parents.
And now
well,
about
there you go.
20. Now about 20, because it's been taken over by
Yes.
BMW.
Yes, an old mini,
Yes,
just to
a
clarify.
proper
yeah.
one.
Yes, exactly.
So
New minis are
so
large.
it's a heritage space that's being subverted.
That's so cool.
Cool, man. Well
So
done.
what is the next? Because somebody as creative as you can't possibly stop there.
Hmm.
So what is the next thing? Is it sort of rent out a London bus,
No, the next
reappropriate a taxi? I mean,
no,
what-
the next thing is I'm going to bring together the bicycle infrastructure of Galashiels
Right.
to we have 1, 2, 3 bike shops. We have
Yeah.
some strange bicycle locking up stations and about 100 yards of pedestrian bicycle
Do you not
track.
get that with the
Yeah.
bike though?
There are
Do you not
because
get the
there are
locks
so
with the
many so many cycle trails.
Yeah,
cyclists
you can
around.
go out, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
but the key point is that if we do it in Galashiels, people can come on the train from Edinburgh.
100%.
So they
Yeah.
can't go to Innerleithen on the train, they can't go to Peebles on the train. But if you're stuck in Edinburgh on the Meadows, or and you
Yeah,
think
you
to
can
yourself,
go
I
to
want to see
Galashiels.
some proper countryside. I can come to Galashiels. I can get my bike repaired. I can get Café Recharge is going to be the Café Central because they have bike space to lock up your bikes.
They do, yes.
There is a really interesting CIC called Bike and Hike Hub. So they have a central shop in the centre of Galashiels, and there are these bike sales and repair shops. So I'm going to make Galashiels a destination for Edinburghites who want to go into the country but don't know where to
Nice.
go.
That's
I
fantastic.
mean, in fairness, that is genius. I asked that question and I thought there would be an answer to that, and there was.
This is
It's brilliant.
I'm thinking back to the Bring Your Bike postcards from when the trains first
Yes.
started.
Uh-huh.
That's what this is reminding me of, and that circles all the way back to art and how it encourages people and changes how people use space. It's
Yes.
so cool.
Yeah. And I really think that people have never given me permission to do interventions into public spaces. I just go and do it, and I give myself the permission, and I give anybody who's listening permission to go and do some guerrilla gardening.
100%. Yes.
Put some stickers up. I wouldn't say do some graffiti, but that's where you're.
Only if it ends up like
But we
that.
do appreciate it.
Well, we do appreciate it, and you have permission to intervene in your public space.
Yes.
Public space should be for everyone.
How do
Yes.
people know there's a difference? That's what I like about graffiti. It's like you
Yes.
don't have to like
Because
it.
you get an email from the owner.
Away society would deem it like,
Yes.
I don't like that. Okay,
Yeah.
you may not like it, but how do the youngsters and us
Uh-huh.
know that there is a different? You can make
Yeah.
something that's different for everybody else, and that's what I do with art. I like that. I'd forgot all about why, because I went on a journey about why graffiti is important in society, and it's because how do people know that there is a difference?
Yes.
Okay, you may not like it, and you've been
Yeah.
told you shouldn't do it, but if these
Yeah.
guys don't do it, how do we know there's a difference? Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense, it's like
Yeah.
And
You know,
also,
I
sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I used to really appreciate when I lived in London, you'd be on the tube, and every so often there'd be someone would have modified something with a
Yes.
sticker.
Yeah.
And it just gives you, it makes you smile.
or Glasgow, they spray paint the whole
100%,
train.
yeah.
It's like, one goes past, like, what's that?
And the
They
sign,
do that
and
in
the sign
London
of a
as well, but
building.
not on the district line.
What is the most recognisable photo of Glasgow? It's the statue with the cone on the top.
Yes.
Which is a
Which
social
now
act.
always has a cone on it.
So I mean, yeah, these are the things, and also just finally, like, and I'd be a fool if I didn't say it. Like, you want to bring together the cycling infrastructure. That is a rolling billboard.
Yes.
So you could connect the whole
100%.
thing together and hire people to just do the bike trails
Yep.
with the advert of the business that you're trying
And
to
your
sell.
tea bag bags.
Exactly.
go.
Hiya, man. Possibilities, right?
But you see, the world is such an exciting place because you don't have to be constrained. As any young businesses out there, don't be constrained.
Yeah.
You can do anything.
Mm.
And you know, Mark, if nobody else tells you this, I'm going to tell you the world's a most wonderful and exciting place because you're in it as well.
Well, thanks
So
very much.
It's nice to hear
everyone.
that. It is though. It's nice to hear that stuff like
Lucky
that.
we're in the.
I'll let that one pass because usually I'm vomiting over here. But it is true.
True,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is very true. I think it's having people with that amount of empathy and care and genuine interest in making the world a better place is what is lost in, because we can't find these people because they don't have the confidence to actually.
Yes.
But it's also, it's like, you know, I get asked, not oftenly, but what am I trying to say? I've been asked before, like, and this is an older gentleman that I've got a good connection with now, but he was quite cheeky, and he says, what makes you think your art's relevant in this world? And I took a deep breath and I went, well, my friend, and I won't mention his name, but he'll watch this, I said, why is it we're still scrambling about inside caves looking at pictures?
Yes.
I rest my case.
Aha.
Yeah, and how did they feel about their art?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Drawing around the hand. You know, that's the original.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that.
After
man's
my own
bit-
heart, drawing lots of
man's
horses.
handprint on the environment. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's either positive or it's negative. So
Either way, that you have to have a positive and negative for a reaction.
yeah,
That's how it works, man.
That's
Yeah, it's about how it
perfect.
it's about how it touches people, not
yeah.
whether they deem it good or bad.
That's a
Does it-
perfect point to end on, I think. Make a social change, make an impact. Mark, and I'm sure I speak for the team, we'd love to have you back. But before we move on, we are fueled by Frangipane, which is a t-shirt in its own right. What is your favourite The Frangipane Bakery bake?
Oh, I had the white chocolate and raspberry blondie. Yes,
That's getting a lot of votes.
It is, yeah.
it was very nice.
It is very good.
There is a bit left. I'll half it with we share here, but you know,
We're
half it.
fighting
It's
over
a sharing,
cake.
caring environment that I'm in.
We will have it.
Absolutely.
If you see a bulge in the thing, by the way. But Mark, thank you so much for joining us. And
Thanks for inviting me.
We would love to work with and just collaborate. I think you'll see a lot more of us, and we'll see a lot more of you. But also, coming up on the show, we will have the first people to go through the program.
Mac Creations.
Yes.
Indeed.
So they will be on. They will be on soon as well. But thank you very much. And as I always say, if you haven't learned anything from this particular episode, then I think you need to listen to a different podcast. But respectfully, yes. And if you need to catch up, it's all on YouTube. It's all on our socials.
100%. Do please leave us a voice message.
Yep, absolutely. Or even a graffiti painting. It all makes it's all the same.
Yeah.
But all the links will be
Drop
on.
all the art in the Facebook group.
Absolutely.
We Speak Tangent was here.
It was. All the links will be in the Facebook, the show notes, as well as all the links for everything that has been discussed. And yes, we will have you back very soon. Thank you so much.
Many thanks.
From all of us here at We Speak Tangent, I've been Michael.
I've been James.
And I've been Kat.
And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the We Speak Tangent podcast, brought to you by the Neurodivergent Entrepreneurs Network in partnership with South of Scotland Enterprise.